All right, welcome to the Fear the Fin podcast. It's 11:04 Pacific time on February 15th, 2017, in the year of our Yager. It's still Yarmir Yager's birthday on the West Coast.
Yeah,
Happy birthday, Yogs. Screw you.
he
For
doesn't
today,
drink.
anyway.
Not having one tonight.
We can have one for him. We're gonna need one after that. Roberto Luongo is gonna have one for him. I think he's
Yeah,
we hear it's just a groin. Did they say groin? Actually, they didn't even say that. I think it was
cramp, just a cramp.
cramp. Sorry, groin is actually serious. I should.
Yeah, it looked bad. But
It did look pretty bad, but it seems like it's actually just a cramp. So good news. Roberto Luongo is one of the good guys, so it's nice to see that he's especially since Sharks don't have to play him again, so he can go ahead and be healthy the rest of the year. That's perfectly fine with most of us here at fearthebed.com. That was allegedly a hockey game, huh? 11 goals
yes,
scored.
Sharks lose on February 15th, 2017.
They did. That's four straight losses in overtime for the Sharks, which is to say they have lost the last four games they've played in overtime, not that they've played in four straight games in overtime.
And they've lost, what, 4 of their last 5? 3 of their last 4?
Yes, correct. They've also lost now, what is that, going back 5 of their last 6 overtime games. That's after they had gone on a streak where they had won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight overtime contests. So
Right.
That's how overtime works, though. It's a coin flippy type thing, and eventually they'll go back on a streak where they win a bunch in a row, and it just has not clicked for them as of late. Martin Jones was really, really terrible tonight, and that is not dependent on one guy, but dependent on one guy. He is the reason that the Sharks lost tonight. You post a 728 save percentage, and you're the reason your team lost, regardless of defensive miscues, whatever. The defense is the reason that Martin Jones gets talked about the way that he does, and tonight, when the defense didn't have a great night, Martin Jones showed nothing. Beyond nothing.
Yeah,
it's not a good night.
We talked about it a little bit before the show. If you're going to give him credit on the nights he bails out the Sharks defense, you got to also, put the blame a little bit at his feet on nights when he doesn't. And tonight the Sharks defense was poor in front of him, no doubt. But this was not a very good game. I think, that late goal, Schlemko loses his stick. I'm fine if you say that's, just a fluky play 3-on-3. But I think he'd like to have, quite a few of those goals back. I'd say both of Bjugstad's goals, one he gets beat short side, one on a partial breakaway with, Dylan close and nearby to Bjugstad. Looked like Jones wasn't challenging Bjugstad enough. And that's, reading the situation and seeing, oh, this guy's behind my defenseman. I don't know goaltending. I'm no goaltending coach or expert, but yeah, anytime you allow 6 goals, you most likely did not play well.
Hard time.
Yeah, you're not going to have a great game. Whereas on the other end, Luongo allowed 5, and I thought he played really well. I thought his defense did him no favors tonight, and that's not to say, I'm harping on Jones and giving Luongo credit just because Luongo's a good guy, but Luongo made some really big saves tonight. I don't think you can say Jones did, because when he then made a save, the Sharks were scored on the ensuing possession. You can blame the Sharks for not, clearing the rebound there, both at the 5th goal, which put the Panthers up by 2 goals on Yager's 1900th point, and then the game-winning goal. He made the initial save, but he didn't make the second save, and it's a concern. I mean, he allowed 5 goals against Buffalo, 3 in 20 minutes against Boston, and then 6 tonight in just under 65. That's not good. He was playing very well before. He had a good stretch, pretty good stretch coming into the All-Star break. But man, out of the All-Star break, since since losing that shootout to Arizona, he really has not been great, save for those 60 minutes in New Jersey.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that your defense. I think we needed to think about defense in terms other than just, was there a defensive breakdown on a play that led to a goal? Your defense allowing, only 22 shots against is your defense playing well. That's part of what your defense does, right? That's good. Or your defense also extends beyond just the 6 guys that play defense around you. It's an entire team effort. It involves your forwards as well. the Sharks have one of the best defensive cores in the league and are one of the best defensive teams. I'm using air quotes there, which I shouldn't do on an audio podcast. Because they don't allow very many shots on goal, and that's why Jones' numbers look so good night in and night out. It's not because Jones is one of the top 10 goalies in the league, because he's not. It's because the Sharks are a great possession team, and that's part of the deal. That's what makes them such a good team. If you don't allow a lot of shots on your goalie, spoiler alert, it makes it a lot easier to not allow a lot of goals. So on nights when the Sharks allow only 22 shots and they allow 6 goals. On one hand, yes, I understand that you can say, maybe they need to allow fewer, high quality chances, whatever. But at the same time, you need your goalie to be able to step up at some point and take care of some of those. I think at the same time, I don't really think that they allowed that many really, truly high quality chances to the Panthers really all night. I know in the third period is really when they allowed the most. I'm pulling it up now. On Natural Stat Trick keeps high danger chances. The Sharks allowed 7 and had 14. It's not very many. It's really not. Yeah. And that to me, again, just shows that, Martin Jones played terribly. Whatever. That's really the most we have to say about it, is that he had a really terrible game. And again, this is a tough thing for us to go back and prove, empirically. But to me, it just backs up my gut feeling that the coaching staff is playing him way too much.
Agreed completely.
And it's one of those things that we're not going to be able to say like, oh, hey, we can point to this and say, here are the numbers to back up that Martin Jones is playing too much, because, here were his numbers when he wasn't playing too much, because the sample sizes just aren't going to be there. But
right,
my gut says he's playing too much, and now the Sharks are going to suffer for it a little bit. And that's I feel that that's true, and I feel like nights like this are a good example of why the coaching staff has really done a poor job managing him this year. And I think it's kind of strange that it seems like nobody else is really talking about this.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine text me during the game. I'll give him a shout out. Shout out Johnny Shaw. He wanted me to give him a shout out on one of these podcasts. He texted me during the game and he said, with the bye week coming up next week, they're just going to ride Jones down the stretch and say, oh, he got his rest during the bye week. I wonder if that is, part of their justification and part of their reasoning as to why Jones is playing so much, is because they get that week off. They get that 5-day stretch. They think they can push him more. I think at least recently it's starting to backfire a little bit. And, Dell we've talked about it time and time again. He's proven capable. He has to start one of these 2 games, either the one in Arizona on Saturday or the one against Boston at home.
Well, we know which one he's starting.
You think he's going to start in Arizona?
Yes.
Yeah, I would think so too, but it'd be inexcusable for DeBoer to play him both games.
Absolutely, it would be.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, it would be inexcusable. That's it. That's all.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I think Dell's played well against Arizona. Not to say Jones hasn't. I can see them playing Jones in that game because it's the divisional game. 4-point swing, even though it's the Coyotes. But yeah, no, I think he's got to start one of those games.
Yep, absolutely.
Honestly, if not both, he's fresh enough and he's played well enough. If you just want to send a message to Jones that he hasn't played well enough lately, I wouldn't mind seeing that.
I also wouldn't. Frankly, I also wouldn't mind calling up Troy Grosnick and rewarding him with a game against the Coyotes and playing Dell against Boston and playing Grosnick against the Coyotes. That wouldn't bother me at all, because I think Grosnick deserves it. If you're talking about rewarding guys, and if rewarding a guy is calling up Nikolai Goldobin and letting him eat press box food, or watching Michael Haley do nothing tonight, then call up Grosnick.
I mentioned this in my recap. Haley didn't have a bad game tonight. That fourth line, yes, they were on
the ice for multiple big time defensive breakdowns. Where here's the thing, and I want to mention this. When there's a defensive breakdown, it is not just the fault of the player who makes a bad play when scored. It is also the fault of the players that are just dicking around on the ice on the other side of the ice. Because if you're just standing around with your thumb up your butt, you're also not preventing a goal.
Right.
Okay, that happens a lot when the fourth line is out there, and that's not just Michael Haley. Which whatever. I don't think Michael Haley had a bad game either. I just want to point out that, and the thing is that when Michael Haley is on the ice, I think it makes it tougher for guys like Chris Tierney to be successful, and that's frustrating to me because I want to see guys like Chris Tierney have a bigger opportunity to get better as hockey players, and when they're playing with guys that aren't good,
right. That's fair.
It stunts their growth.
And I think the possession probably numbers don't track those breakdowns necessarily, because I don't even know if I think there were breakdowns, but I'm not sure the Panthers generated chances based on them. But in terms of percentage, and again, small sample size, he didn't allow an unblocked shot attempt or a shot attempt in general when he was on the ice. Carlson allowed 5, Tierney allowed 2, but both those were the 3 best possession players. I thought they were. Florida doesn't have a great fourth line. Anytime you're playing Sean Thornton, Michael Haley's a better player than Sean Thornton, I think, at this point in his career. And,
that's fair.
Sean Thornton has served a role in the NHL, but the game has probably passed him.
Yes.
But I thought the fourth line, I thought they looked good in the offensive zone. They generated some chances. But I agreed with you. I would have liked to see Goldobin play tonight, because you would have thought this was going to be his reward for playing well. I wonder if we see him this weekend. I think, the Sharks did score 5 goals last night, and so they're not going to say goals were a problem. But, third line did struggle a little bit in terms of puck possession tonight. All 3 players were underwater. Hurdle and Meyer had the lowest Corsi for percentages. Again, this is there are no adjustments on these sets. This is just raw Corsi. Not the best way to look at it, because, players can have a bad night. But yeah, I was a little disappointed not to see Goldobin get a call, because you would have thought, man, if he's going to get a shot in the lineup, it's at this point after he's played this well. And now I wonder, is he going to get a shot at all? I think he'll be the extra forward on the road trip. But Sharks have struggled to score against Arizona at times. I don't think they've scored more than 3 goals in a game against the Coyotes all season.
There's a couple things there. One, I think the reason that Nikolai Goldobin didn't play is because Kevin Labanc played, because Kevin Labanc has played so well, and they wanted to keep playing with the Joes, which I don't, in theory, have a problem with.
Right. 4 points in 3 games for Labanc on that line.
Right. Like I said, I don't, in theory, have a problem with that. I do have some, at least, skepticism about this weird, Pete DeBoer's masterful handling of youth narrative that's cropping up. That's bullshit. It's not a real thing. Pete DeBoer is really carrying several years of narrative of terrible handling of youth in his entire career, which I think, a lot of that comes.
A lot of it came in Jersey.
That's Lou Lamoriello. And so, which is fine, whatever. So I wouldn't attach that to him either. But I have not really seen anything this year where I would say, oh man, wow, what masterful handling of youth. It's like, I'm not really. I mean, it's
fine. I don't think it's any worse or better necessarily than McClellan.
No, not at all. It
does feel. I think
the same.
He's not. I will say, if there is a difference, he's not afraid to make changes within a game. But, if he changes a line within a game, he's not necessarily going to say, oh, well, that worked in the third period, so let's use that the next game. I think he's been pretty good about, I will say he's been good about keeping them in roles where they can succeed. Meyer went for a stretch without scoring for a while, as did Labanc. I think it took them a little longer to drop to the fourth line than it might have under Todd McClellan. Again, this is not empirical. This is more of a gut thing. I think that's where that comes from. But I haven't had a chance to head to one of the practices in a while, and haven't been at a game in a little bit, so I'm not sure. I'm not seeing the dynamics. And I think he's eased. I think I will say he's probably eased Meyer and Labanc along, while also putting them in positions to succeed. I think with McClellan at times you saw young guys get in the doghouse a lot sooner.
I guess to me,
and that's not to say Goldobin's not in the doghouse yet. I'm thinking specifically of a guy like Jamie McGinn, who got called up, and then every time he got called up, barely played until finally he started scoring, and McClellan was like, "All right, we'll play you, JB. After all this time, I'll finally I'll finally crack. I think the only rookie who's really in his doghouse in a game was maybe Danny O'Regan, but I think you could tell in that game he was swimming above his weight.
Yeah, did Danny O'Regan, in fairness, played terribly, and so fair enough. I think there's a couple things. I think number one, guys like Timo Meyer I don't feel like need to be eased into anything.
No.
That's number one. The guy's a first round draft pick, was taken in the top half of the draft. The guy can be dropped in anywhere. Number two, is it really being eased in when you're like, hey man, we're calling you up. You get to go play with a Hall of Famer and
right? No, yeah. Well, I'd say that's eased in because it's not. He's not playing a fourth line dump and chase role. He's being put in a position to succeed.
You're playing against the best players in the NHL.
Right.
I think there's a give and take to that because you're.
I agree. The competition you're playing against is higher, but the competition you're playing with is also better.
Right. I mean, I think that I think it balances out to a degree.
Of course.
Because you can't. I know we joke about you could just put anybody there, but you really can't because when you look, I wrote that post about who should play with the Joes the other day. And I know it was like we've kind of liked what Melker Karlsson can do there. Melker Karlsson is nowhere near as good with the Joes as Kevin LeBanc and Timo Meyer has been there. And it's like startlingly different. I mean, a huge gap. Yeah. And I think Melker Karlsson was fine there just by the eye test. And then you kind of look at it a little bit closer and it's like, oh, yeah, right. He's nowhere near as good as those other guys. Right.
Yeah.
Which, whatever. That's just the way it is. To go back to your Arizona Coyotes point, the Sharks have not scored more than 2 goals there since March 20th of 2016, so their past 5 games. Wow. They've scored – the last time they scored 4 goals there was this February 13th of last year. Yeah, wow. 4 goals is the most they've scored there since 2013. Yeah. So it's just Mike Smith, man. That's just what they do.
Yeah, and I think in a game and a team you maybe struggle to finish against a guy, and you're coming off of a loss. I don't think it'd be a bad idea to put Goldobin in and ensure that you have scoring punch on all of your lines because if he's playing with Chris Tierney and Melker Karlsson, I think the two of them are defensively responsible enough that they can make up for whatever miscues he may have. But it's in reading reports, reading Zach's stuff from the games, reading Ian's stuff from the Barracuda games. It seems like Goldobin has somewhat turned a corner with his defensive game.
Yeah, honestly, the biggest problem with Goldobin at this point is kind of, in my opinion, is penalty stuff more than it is than it is defensively.
He can be a bit hothead.
Yeah, he's also known to take the occasional embellishment call.
Okay, we witnessed one.
It was a beauty too. Oh man, that's one of the best embellishment calls I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I could have made that call. Another Arizona Coyotes note: in the past 4 games against the Coyotes, the Sharks have taken at least 40 shots and not scored more than 2 goals. The Sharks have also gone to overtime against the Coyotes the past 3 games and won.
That's what they do.
Once. Yeah, the Coyotes are just the worst.
I think again, given those struggles, I think that's a game you put Goldobin in and you just say, you know what, like we struggle to score against this team. Let's really, if we can't score when we have these many scorers in our lineup, we're never going to be able to score against Mike Smith.
Another thing to note, the Coyotes have taken more than 15 penalty minutes in the past 2 games against the Sharks. The Sharks have taken double-digit penalty minutes in 2 of the last 3 games, and I really think that's a big part of what the Coyotes try to do against the Sharks. And I think that this is part of the problem with Pete DeBoer is that he
sees that he's going to play Michael Haley next year.
Yes, and he's like gets a little jazzed about that, and I think that a lot of people do. And I think that there's that really can take the Sharks out of their game against a bad team. I think against a good team like the Kings, it doesn't really.
No, I think against a good team, I think he knows and is discerning enough where he's like, all right, if the Kings are going to try and check us the whole game, we're going to skate around them.
Exactly. But against a bad team, they're like, oh man, we can
maybe it's part of that old mentality of the enforcer mentality of you need and even though we've been shown there are no deterrents really. But you at least when you have Michael Haley in the lineup, you're thinking, okay, if liberties are taken, we have someone there who's going to impose a physical level play. And plus, Michael Haley too, as we mentioned, has a knack for drawing penalties, and against a Coyotes team that takes a lot of penalties, that could come in handy.
The other problem, of course, is that the Sharks haven't taken advantage enough of those penalty minutes being taken.
Right.
And that goes back to the power play,
power.
which was, we should talk about that also, which was also not good tonight. The biggest thing to me, and we've talked about trying to mix up the power play recently, which the Sharks team just very reticent to do. The Marc-Edouard Vlasic thing on the power play, which is the new hill I'm going to die on, just has to stop. He just looks so bad out there.
Yeah.
There was the one play he made today where he takes the puck and just drives down the far side boards against two Florida players and then just stops. Doesn't chip the puck around the boards to try to get the puck to Tomas Hertl. He just stops, as if the defensive wonderkind is going to skate past two penalty killers.
Or if he can hold the puck with control and sauce a pass across the ice. Yeah.
Which it's like, it would be fine if he was penalty killing. It's like, yes, well, good work, Mark. If you were trying to kill time while on the power play, this would be a really terrific move. The problem is that's what they're trying to do.
I think the big thing is, you see Schlemko, he's not running the point, but he's getting passes out quicker. And I think tonight he had that play, but I thought he made some good passes. I thought he had a really nice cross ice pass to Joel Ward. He hit Ward like on a dime with it, and Ward was able to enter the zone.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a good pass. And I also thought he was getting rid of the puck a little bit quicker tonight. It seemed like, they had Schlemko on the off wing, and if you're not going to run Schlemko at top, I'd rather them do this, where it's as soon as Vlasic gets it, he's just literally shuffling it over to Schlemko. But, Chris Tierney can do that also.
Yep.
And I think that's the biggest thing. That's the hill I think the blog is going to die on, is that we think, Tierney should get some power play looks. I thought he had some nice plays in the offensive zone. He got a loose puck off a face-off, sauced a pass back to Schlemko, and Schlemko got a shot in the first period. I definitely noticed that. It's probably time to try something. And, maybe coming out of the bye week is the time they do it. You say, all right, you got some time off. We're going to do it. We're going to do it fresh here to make sure things don't get stale. Because I think DeBoers has a long leash for some of these line combinations, especially so on the power play. He's experimented briefly dropping Marlowe to the second unit and quickly went away from that. But I think there's something to the units we talked about of just keeping that second line together on a unit, playing them with, Chris Tierney and David Schlemko. And then the first unit move Tomas Hertl and Kevin LeBanc there. I think there's something to that. I wonder what it's going to take for DeBoer to do that.
Yeah, tonight the Sharks had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shot attempts. Only 4 hit the net. That's just not good enough.
On how many power plays?
I believe it was 3 power plays tonight.
That's just over 2 attempts at power play. That's not good.
That's pathetic. Yeah. It really is. That is absolutely pathetic.
Not up to the standard they've set in previous years.
Right. It's just, that's not going to do it. I just at some point the team is going to have to it's going to have to do something about it. And I don't know what it is and what it's going to take for somebody to be like, okay, listen, we're going to have to mix things up.
Well, if there's a day to do it, it's tomorrow. They've got practice tomorrow before they travel. If there's and it's their last practice before the bye week. If they're going to make the change before the bye week, they're doing it tomorrow. If they don't, we're not going to see it change until at the earliest when they come back.
Another thing to note is that all of the shots came on the right side of the ice, which I think is something else that I've noticed has been coming a lot. Burns only took 1 shot on the power play, and I think that's something that people have been incorrectly harping on, is that the power play has been running through Burns too much. I don't think that that's the problem with the power play. I think people are saying that the Sharks have become predictable through the power play, which I also don't think is the problem. I think that I don't think that is the problem. I think maybe that could be a problem that I think,
but it's not the problem.
Boring. It is certainly not the problem.
And I'd have to look back at the film, but I'd imagine teams are, it does feel like teams are keying in on him on the power play.
I think that's possible. I feel like if that is the case, that shouldn't be enough to explain why the team has struggled on the power play.
Oh, well, I mean, if they're keying in on him, they're good enough moving the puck where they can just get it to the open guy. That's where I would agree with you there.
The other thing is that, you might have heard of this other team with this other guy. It's called the Capitals and Alexander Ovechkin.
Yeah.
They've run the same power play system with the same guy for years.
Yeah.
You know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
To me, just run the same system that they run, put Burns on the opposite side of the ice in the same spot that he's in, and just do the same thing.
So you want Burns, you don't want Burns quarterbacking up top. You want him in the Stamkos.
Yeah, why not?
In the Ovechkin spot.
Well, to me, I think Burns is isn't as good a passer anyway, so just why not taking shots?
Couture usually slides up there if Burns slides down to his off wing. I do think, and this is an anecdotal, I do think their off puck movement hasn't been as good. Usually we see them kind of rotate as a unit. Lately, I don't think we've seen that a lot. I think we've seen them, whip the puck around quickly, and you can whip passes around the outside and pass around the box that the penalty kill is running. They're happy to keep you to the outside and keep you passing like that. Where you get the guys, switching is, Burns scored that overtime goal earlier this season on the was it an overtime goal? The so-called spotter special. That was that was just him and Pavelski basically running a switch. Pavelski drops it off to Burns for a one-timer. I mean, it can be as simple as that, but I think their movement both away from the puck and with the puck hasn't been as good on the power play lately. I think the players themselves have been a little too stationary.
Yeah, and something I would like to look at is that I feel like Thornton has maybe shot a little bit more this year, and maybe
I think he has too.
And I think maybe that's come at the detriment to the power play as a whole. I remember thinking, I did this shitty tweet. I think it was last year where I did like a fake horror movie poster where I did Joe Thornton holding the puck behind the net on the power play. And something about this being the scariest movie other teams will ever see. And I feel like I haven't even noticed him standing back there with the puck anymore.
Yeah, the space people love to call Gretzky's office. I don't think I think we've seen him more along the half wall this year.
I agree. Yeah, and maybe there's something to that's worth exploring, because if he's shooting more on the power play and not so much taking that passing role, I mean, that's at least something.
That's where you need him. You need him.
We do not need him shooting, because there's got to have 1,000 shooters out there on the.
And again, it goes back to the movement. He can keep defenses off guard when he'll start behind the net. He'll skate to the half wall. He'll pass up to Burns. If there's an opening in the slot, he'll feed the guy there. But I think I'd have to probably look through too much power play film. But tonight it felt like they were pretty stationary on the power play.
This was there have definitely been nights. I think actually against I don't remember which weekend game it was. If it was Philly or New Jersey, which one was it where they had the extended 5-on-3?
Both. I think they had it in both.
Both.
Jersey was the most recent with the extended 5-on-3.
Okay, yeah. I actually thought that they looked pretty good on that, and I think much maligned by a friend of the blog, Kevin Kurz, who I disagree with frequently on a power play evaluation, which whatever. Different strokes for different folks, but exactly. I actually thought they looked quite good on that. And I think there have been a lot of times where they've looked really, really good on the power play. I think they just haven't scored.
Tonight was a night I think they looked bad.
Tonight they looked absolutely like garbage on the power play.
Yeah,
so it goes. So I think that they're and that's just the way power plays work. It's such a small sample size that there are going to be nights where you look really, really good, and some nights where you look really, really terrible. And I just feel like that there really has been kind of a lack of consistency in general on that. I'm actually looking up the numbers right now. Joe Thornton actually took more shots last year on the power play, so I take it back. That is not the
There we go. Our takes are wrong.
Our takes are terrible. you guys actually suck. I was like, all right, you're right. My bad.
Thanks, listener.
Thanks, guys. All right. Okay. Well, there we go. That's how it works. Sometimes we have thoughts, and the thoughts are terrible, and then we go back and come up with something else for next time. That is actually something though that I found kind of troubling that people have talked about this year is that we did that poll thing where I had people rank players, and there were multiple people that said that their biggest disappointment this year was Joe Thornton.
Yeah.
And I didn't ban all of those people, but I really did come close to considering it because I don't understand.
Well, I think it's just because the bar was. And I think I was a little guilty of it too. I think last year, was, a lot of the greats kind of have last year with 82 points, that was, he hadn't been a point per game player. He hadn't posted a point per game in 5 years before then, or 5 or 6 years. And that was the first time he'd done that. And people thought, okay, Jumbo's back. But this year, I think it's been, I think age is, I don't want to say age is caught up to him, but, I'm looking at his stats right now, and I had a feeling this was the case. He posted his highest shooting percentage since 2010, 2011 last year at 15.7. And this year is his second lowest since 2010, 2011 at 8.5.
Yes. Do you see how I'm nodding at you? Like, yes, you are one of the dumb people that I could have blocked. Yes, because do you know what the other thing is? It's that the guy relies primarily on assists, and the team shooting percentage is also at its lowest.
Yeah, exactly.
For the past 10 years.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
Burns and Pavelski are really the only guys, and Marlowe are the only guys you could say they're scoring. And Couture's actually scoring a lot too. But those four aside, you cannot say anyone is scoring at a very consistent level.
And Marlowe is very recent. Pavelski is relatively recent, and Couture is only scoring at even strength, which doesn't help Thornton at all.
Right. Because they don't play; they only play together on the power play.
Which exactly.
But and when you're only getting production from one winger, which is Pavelski, and if you've had a rotating door of your second winger,
the bros.
Yeah, that's natural. I think LeBanc playing with them, I think there's a shot there that now, they can ease into that and he'll have some more. Look, if he's having a down year offensively for sure. I think there were a little concerns earlier in the year. I think there were times he looked slow, especially closer to the World Cup. I think you could tell he was, that maybe it was too many games. But I think recently, since the All-Star break, I thought he's looked pretty good. I think he's looked, I don't think I haven't felt, oh man, Joe Thornton looks slow tonight in a little while.
Has Joe Thornton looked fast to you in recent years?
Not fast, but I think he looked a step slower than we're used to. Certainly.
How can you? Good for you for being able to tell that Joe Thornton looks slower.
Right.
Well, because Joe Thornton has looked
I know what you're saying.
I'm just saying, Joe Thornton has been a slow man for many years. All right.
But yeah. And I think
I understand what you're getting at, but Joe Thornton has not been a fast man for It's been a while, man. Yeah. It's been quite some time.
Yeah, I think you raise a good point about the shooting percentage. I'm looking at his assist numbers from the last,
his assist numbers are close to what they were 2 years ago. It's just not that different.
When they were a down scoring team that year,
right?
Last year they scored a lot. He had 63 assists, and the year before that, man, he had 65 assists in 2013-14 too. He's having a bad shoot. The team's having a bad shooting year. I'm not very worried about Joe Thornton. Even if he has looked slower, even if he isn't scoring as much, there haven't been many nights where I certainly don't think he's to blame or very disappointing this year. I put to blame in air quotes. I don't think he's been a disappointment either. I think this is a guy they're going to rely on down the stretch, and he had a great postseason last year. I see him having the same this year. They just again, but that's the other thing too. Hurdle, Thornton, Pavelski was the best line in the NHL last year. Now they're not playing together, and I think that's for the betterment of the Sharks, but Thornton, LeBanc, Pavelski isn't the best line in the NHL yet. I would say the early returns are very good, though.
I think it is worth noting that might not be that Hurdle, or I'm sorry, that Thornton, Pavelski, LeBanc line might not be the top line of the Sharks next season, and that is a little bit interesting, maybe a little bit scary.
Yeah.
And maybe that's cause for some thought about what the plan needs to be going forward, assuming that Thornton comes back next year. And my assumption is yes, that they will. I mean, even if you look at just his Fenwick numbers this year, I mean, they're the lowest they've been in the past 5 years, which frankly is natural, because guess what? He's the oldest.
37 years old. Yeah,
he is the oldest he's been of the past 5 years. So
yeah.
That's what, as last I checked, that is still how aging works. He's also had the worst line mates he's had of the past 5 years, because he's had the least amount of time with Tomas Hertl that he's had in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
that's technically not true, obviously.
Right.
But anyway, he's not played with Hertl for most of this year, and so obviously that's been worse than last year. So it's kind of interesting to think about what the future is going to hold for that top line going forward, whether or not they put Patrick Marleau back up there next year and really overload the top line, or if they go a different direction. And
I wonder if next year is the year we see Logan Couture's ice time eclipse Joe Thornton's. I'm looking at their ice time right now. Thornton he plays 26 more seconds a game than Couture, but given their ages, I wonder if we see. Maybe Thornton drops down to 16 minutes a night, and maybe Couture plays 19, 20 minutes a night next year. I think the reduced ice time has definitely helped Patrick Marleau this year. I think he was playing like around 20 minutes a night last year. He was one of their highest usage forwards, and now he's playing. I want to say he's playing around 18. Maybe he's playing around 16.
I mean, I think that it's definitely something worth looking at. Part of the problem is that Logan Couture is still not good enough to be a top line center in the NHL.
Right.
And still get absolutely roasted by other top line centers, which is why every time people talk about John Tavares, it's a guy that the Sharks.
It makes sense.
Right. It's like, oh yeah, maybe the Sharks should do that, because they still don't have a top line center.
You look at Thornton's decline, so to speak,
because
you can see why the Sharks were after Steven Stamkos this offseason.
Right, they probably need one of those if they want to continue to contend.
Yeah. Let's see. Marleau. Yeah, Marlowe's down a full 2 minutes from last year. Marleau was 1902 last year. He's at 17-18 this year. I wonder if we see the same with Thornton. But you make a good point. Who's going to fill that top line role? Is Logan Couture ready? I don't know.
Joe Pavelski leads the team this year and forwards in time on ice.
Right. Can Pavelski center his own line?
Yes, maybe.
He kind of is at times. He takes a good amount of the face-offs.
Listen, face-offs don't matter.
Of course.
I mean, who cares about face-offs? He also wins 0.01 fewer face-offs than Thornton. He also has taken more face-offs than Joe Thornton this year.
Right. Interesting.
Just an FYI.
But Thornton's still the center of that line.
Right. Well, he's a better passer, so yes.
But even just defensive responsibilities, Pavelski's in the winger spot. Yeah, that's interesting. I still think Thornton's good enough this year. Now I think you're still getting enough from him on that top line.
My question is, do you bet on him next year to be good enough?
Probably. That's the thing. Probably.
No, I don't probably. That's a big time gamble, and that's a little bit scary.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean,
especially if you make it deeper into the postseason this year. The window is 1 year basically.
Which is the window. I think the Pacific's weak enough. Yes, you're going to have Edmonton, but barring they're going to have to pay those guys, and barring some significant improvement on the blue line, I don't see Edmonton. I think Edmonton will go as far as McDavid can carry them, but in the NHL, a top line player like that can only carry a team so far. Tavares is up in 2018, so maybe you sign Thornton. He wants a multi-year deal, but maybe you try and sign Thornton to a 1 year deal next year. and then hope for Tavares in 2018. And then if you don't have him, you then say, all right, well, we can kind of blow it up and have some of the young guys take over. Rourke Chartier, and Daniel Regan can play up, and I think they probably think and probably thought and hoped that Tomas Hertl would be ready for a top line center role, and we haven't. I don't think we've seen him used or deployed in that way. We've seen him deployed in a top line winger role, certainly, but we haven't seen him deployed like that.
I mean, there's a couple problems with that. One, he's not good enough. The other problem is that I would never commit to him as a top line center because he'll never be healthy enough.
Right.
I think we have to give a shout out to Zane at 71 in the chat room. I hope this is the Zane from One Direction. He doesn't spell his name the same way.
I think they hope the succession plan, though, they probably assumed was, okay, Thornton gets older, Couture,
Right.
Hertl bump up lines, Thornton slides into the third, or Thornton drops into the second, Couture in the first, and then once Hertl's ready, he takes over for him. The question mark is Couture, and I think you've seen him used in top line roles, and he hasn't had a ton of success. Did he draw Crosby in the Cup final?
Yeah, because he's the one that whined about Crosby cheating on faceoffs.
That's right.
Yeah. The thing is that Couture he's like a Duchesne level center. He's
right.
not a Crosby level center, and he's never
right.
going to be. He's already there. We know it. I mean, Couture's a legit elite center, but he's not Crosby, and he's never going to be. And you need a guy like that, or at least someone pretty close to win a Stanley Cup.
I would say I think the depth is still the key, and I think they'd still have pretty good center depth if Thornton takes the second line role. I mean, I wouldn't call Jonathan Toews a first line center.
Yeah, but they have Patrick Kane.
Right.
Who's better than anybody the Sharks have.
Who's better than Joe Pavelski. Yeah. No,
by about 1,000. Yeah, 1,000 times better than Joe Pavelski.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, you need
That being said, right now the Blackhawks are a bad team, so
yes, no, correct. But even in past years, I wouldn't have called Jonathan Toews a number one center.
No,
but they had the thing is their bottom six was better than any other team in the league.
They also used to have an incredibly good defensive group. I mean, Duncan Keith is bad now, but Duncan Keith used to be incredible.
Yeah, Seabrook too.
Yeah. I mean, they used to have they did the Ducks thing, when the Ducks won the Cup. I mean,
yeah.
Listen, I know we kind of you shit on the Duncan Keith, top 100 thing, but we forget how freaking legit that.
Oh, he's the most worthy inclusion of the three Blackhawks that are on the list.
Literally, I know that it feels like it was a long time ago when he was that good, but he was that good.
I mean, look, it's a flawed example because some other guys, didn't get named to the team and deserved to be, but Duncan Keith would have played in the World Cup of Hockey this year if he wasn't injured, and he's still a very, very good defenseman. Yeah, so it's going to be. I think that's interesting. I think that's a point worth exploring, and it's worth looking into. How Couture's done against some of that other competition. Because what we know about scoring primes, he's right at the tail end of the scoring prime of his career, and he's going to be going again. Has he been matched up with McDavid this year primarily?
No.
It's been Thornton.
And they've been eaten alive by McDavid because McDavid is one of the best players in the NHL already, and nobody can top him.
And he's Thornton's speed against McDavid's speed is
it's embarrassing.
Yeah,
no, dude, Thornton can't match up with Johnny Gaudreau. He can't.
Yeah, well, Gaudreau's a winger, but
you know what I mean. Yeah, I'm saying that Gaudreau line eats the Thornton line for lunch is what I'm saying, and that's what does Gaudreau play with? Is Monahan a center?
I think it's Monahan.
Yeah, and they eat them for lunch.
Yeah, and I mean it's worth. I think they've got enough of leeway in their division, and it's not necessarily a bad thing if the Sharks slip to the 2 or 3 in their division and avoid Edmonton potentially. But
they'd have to play them eventually.
Right. I'm saying for the first round, but it'd be interesting to see if given those struggles, if we start to see Couture more against. Because on paper, Couture, Marleau, Bodker have the speed to keep up with Connor McDavid, Patrick Maroon, and Draisaitl.
Oh, sure. I think. If we're talking right now, sure, no problem. Even next year, sure, no problem.
Yeah,
My thing is that if we're talking just
going forward.
going forward in a 3 years type situation,
Right.
when Thornton is gone, even not when Thornton is gone, when the Sharks no
When Thornton's a
longer
third line center.
correct, when the Sharks no longer have a number one center, they need a number one center.
The hope is that he ages like the man who just turned 45 tonight.
Jaromir Jagr's not a number one center anymore.
No,
and that's why the Florida Panthers are never going to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, not as currently constructed. He should not be he's on a top line wing right now. He should not be a top line winger right now.
Like Randy Hahn's talking tonight about Jaromir Jagr wants to win a Stanley Cup. It's like, well, then the dipshit should stop signing with the Florida Panthers because he's never going to win again.
I think their forward depth, Florida's forward depth,
he doesn't want to win.
Lacking. I think they've got a great blue line though. They've got a great blue line.
They have a very good blue line. They're missing a bottom pairing.
I would agree.
Their forward depth is really where it's not their depth. Yeah. They're you know what they're like? They're like what the Toronto Maple Leafs were last year, where they have a very good. Well, that's not true. They've got a great. They've got basically. They just don't have a top line. That's what they're missing.
Yeah, they've got a.
Hey, all they're missing is the most important part of a hockey team.
They have. Huberdeau and I think they do. Well, it'd be interesting to see how they with Huberdeau and Barkov back, because with them back, they're a much different team. I think we saw they did not have Huberdeau in November when the Sharks played in Florida. I think he was hurt. Barkov, I think, was playing. They're a much different team with those guys in the lineup. But I would agree that they're in kind of a 2A, 2B situation with their top two lines, where, if either of those is your second line, hey, you're in business. But one of those has to be your top line.
Right.
They've got such. Yager's not going to be there forever, but they have young pieces: Huberdeau, Barkov, Ekblad. That's as good of a core, I think, as you're going to get. Anywhere. It's just how you surround the team, and they're trying to be a little more woke with the advanced stats. That's why Daddy's there. That's why Keith Yandel's there.
I thought you were going to.
Yandel had an awful giveaway on that Sharks first goal.
Boy,
just awful,
so bad.
But
that was one of my great bad giveaways too. He had that one on the power play that didn't result in a goal, right to Joe Pavelski. Yeah. He just passed it right to him, and I was like, "Hey, Keith, listen, baby. If you want to come on board." We've got slightly used Brendan Dillon. We will.
Yeah, that's right. And those are giveaways. I'm sitting there thinking, my friend's a huge Ranger fan, and he loved Yandel because he knew, he's like, okay, he'll make some of those passes, but you're gonna take the good with the bad because no one in a Ranger uniform has scored like him since Brian Leach. So you'll take that.
Hey, remember when Alain Vigneault was like, yeah, actually. He's not that good. We're just gonna play him in kind of more like a third pairing role.
Yeah, exactly. We're just traded for a 4th round pick. Unbelievable.
Man, remember the New York Rangers? Remember them?
Remember when they were good? Oh my god.
Yeah, it's too bad they died. Got moved.
If they had kept, I don't know when did they acquire Yandel?
2014-15, right?
So Strawman had left, right?
Yes.
So if they had kept Strawman, let Girardi walk, still acquired Yandel.
Remember how they had Dan Girardi?
And Mark Stahl.
I'm sorry. It's just
they're screwed.
It's really funny,
though. Absolute wrong choice. Strawman is arguably one of the 30 best defensemen in the league. I don't think you can. I think that's he's great, and Yandel's very good too. Now they're both in the Atlantic and the Rangers, but the Rangers think they're going to get Kevin Shattenkirk, so it'll be okay.
Yeah, set down. Hey, look, Guthrie Allen is also in the chat. Hey, Guthrie, how's it going, man? We've got some great names in the chat tonight.
We do. I'm a big fan of these guys. Any questions? Feel free to send
them up. We're here all night. Not literally.
Yeah, not all night. We've got a deadline, but
we have deadlines. This is a real newspaper.
Yeah.
We're gonna be printing this podcast in binary code. afterwards.
It was
I just
also
think
nice to see James Reimer play and be reminded, man, remember when the Sharks used their backup goalie with regularity? Zach Devine tweeted that all 8 of James Reimer's starts in Teal came within a 30-day span. 30 days, he started 8 games. If DeBoer tried to do that with Aaron Dell, his head might explode. I don't know.
has Aaron Dell started 8 games?
That's a great question. I want to say he started 9.
I think he has. Oh man, the tension here is killing me. Marcus is currently doing some Googling right now.
Aaron Dell has started 10 games.
Wow.
Let's see. His record is 6-3-1. Maybe he didn't start.
No, he didn't start all of those because he got a loss in Boston for a game he didn't start.
Oh, he did. So he did get the loss in Boston. Okay.
He got a loss in Boston despite outplaying Martin Jones, and I hope Martin Jones bought him some, bugs or whatever.
That was like his worst stats in an appearance. Actually, no, I take that back. His worst stats were in Calgary. He had 20. He stopped 25 of 28 there.
Didn't he get a win in that game?
No, they lost in Calgary 3-2.
Oh, they did lose that game. Was that an overtime? Am I crazy?
No, he allowed that. He allowed kind of a weak one late. Like he didn't seal the.
Oh yes,
he didn't seal the post. He got beat short side.
He learned that one from Martin. I learned it by watching you. That's what he said on the way back to the locker room.
Yeah, exactly.
And, yeah, I remember that.
Man,
I do think this is
looking at his game log. Remember that game in Carolina 3 months ago when he stopped 32 of 33 shots, and we're like, "Wow, he's a good goalie. He should play more."
I do remember that. You know how I remember it? Because it's just like every other time he's played, except for the Calgary game, except for that one Calgary game where he's not good.
I mean, he's on pace to start the most. Well, no, I take that back. With the bye week, he might not. The most games he started in a month is 3. So let's set the over-under at 3.5. Does he hit the over this month?
How many games do the Sharks have left? Because I feel like this is a loaded question just before midnight.
I mean, all questions just before midnight are loaded. Let's see.
Oh, wow.
They got 5 games left this month.
Oh.
4. Excuse me, 4.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'll take the under.
Yeah.
I think he starts.
Yeah.
He starts at Arizona. He doesn't start. Seeing how some of these teams have struggled out of the bye week, there's no way he starts against Vancouver, and I doubt he starts against Toronto.
Nope.
But let's see. So they've got Sharks for the rest. I mean, coming up, they've got quite a few back-to-backs coming up. By March 12th, before March 12th, they have 3 back-to-backs. He's got to start at least those 3 games.
Oh yeah. All right. Let's do a little on-air bet. How many of those back-to-backs do you think Martin Jones starts both of?
1.
Yeah. All right. Let's set the over/under at 1.5. I'll take the over. You take the under.
Cool.
Yeah, that's fair. That's good.
Yeah, I like. So we've got. So yeah. So I'll take the under. He starts less than. Jones starts. Yeah. Jones starts one of those back-to-backs or less, and you've got 2 or more of those back-to-backs.
Right.
So Jones starts 3 of those back-to-backs.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
We'll know this week.
Exactly. I'm saying there's a chance.
So the Coyotes, the Sharks can't score against, and the Bruins were playing great hockey before they fired Claude Julien, and then they fired him. They're still playing great hockey, and now Julien's coaching their rival.
As much as people, and rightfully so, have plenty of reason to shit on the NHL because there's a lot of bad stuff. I love how stupid this league is sometimes, and particularly right now. Before
I was going to say as much reason, and we have plenty of reason. I mean, the fact Michel Therrien outlasted PK Subban as long as he did is insane.
Disgusting. Yeah,
but give Bergevin credit for saying there's a better coach available that can help, and our team's not playing well. Let's hire Claude Julien because I mean I can think of at least 3 teams, including Las Vegas, that probably had Claude Julien at the top of their coaching list at the end of the season. I think. Spoiler alert! I'm pretty sure that's why this hire happened when it. Yeah, did. I think a team we saw tonight had him at the top of their list. I think Florida was good. If they didn't keep Tom Rowe, I think they would have hired Claude Julien.
Hey, let's do a quick power ranking. coaches in the NHL that look like turtles. There are a lot. Now,
Claude's number one.
Tom Rowe is pretty turtly.
He is pretty turtly.
Now, this would have gotten really difficult had the Penguins followed through and just hired Pierre McGuire like we all needed them to.
Yes. Like Pierre's been angling for years.
For years. Now,
I tell you.
In fairness, I'll tell you, Eddie, I'm going to get that Boston Bruins job. I tell you. It's
my favorite Pierre McGuire anecdote. He was the coach of the Hartford Whalers, and they lost like 6-0. And he's like, oh, but we held Mario Lemieux without a point. He was like very proud about that. But like, I think it was Kevin Stevens had 4 goals against them. Like some scrub scored 4 against them, and he was like, oh, well, we shut down Mario.
Honestly, that sounds like something that I would be proud of if like I coached like a kind of one of those Joe's against pros games, you know, like a charity thing. Well, hey, well, Joe Schmo from the Hartford Current, we lost 18-0, but Mario only had 1 point.
One of the greatest like takedown columns in sports writing history was when Pierre got fired by Hartford. I believe it was in the Hartford Courant.
Well, that's because there's only one paper in all of Connecticut.
Yeah, it was the Hartford Courant.
Is that how you're going to pronounce that?
Literally, if you just Google Pierre McGuire fired Whalers.
You're just going to do that on the podcast. You're going to say Courant. It's the Current.
Current, whatever. Jeff Jacobs hired it. Like this is like the third and fourth sentences about Pierre McGuire getting fired.
I'm ready.
It was more than a great idea. It was justice. Like that's what you know.
Oh man,
you're in for a scorcher of a like, and just lines like McGuire fancied himself two parts Scotty Bowman and 1 part Bob Johnson. It turned out to be a superhuman leap of faith on his part. Like this is legitimately one of the best written columns like I've ever read, and it's just a great takedown piece. So yeah, do that. Google that on Pierre McGuire if you guys get the chance tonight. I highly recommend.
Why don't you put the link in our chat, Marcus, and I'll put it in the chat so that Guthrie and Zane can read this.
Yes, please do, and then maybe in the show notes.
I'll put it in the show notes.
On iTunes. This is just some of these slides, man. Like,
do you think that this was it for the Hartford Whalers? Like they were like, well, we're gonna have to move after this. This is it.
And like the article's so old that it's 2 pages on a website. Like it doesn't all fit on one web page. Like you have to go through you have to read page 1, then there's a page 2 of the column.
Marcus, question: were you born when this was written?
No, this was a couple weeks before I was born.
I was let's see, how old was I? I was 2 years old. This was actually 2 years and 6 months and 7 days old when this was.
Pierre was a head coach at 32. That could be what he killed the Whalers. You could argue.
Oh my God! Whoa, Paul Holmgren was the GM. I don't know. Maybe Paul Holmgren killed the Whalers.
Maybe, but
it's Paul Holmgren's fault.
Let's blame Pierre.
Did we talk? Can we talk about how great Pierre McGuire would be at covering jousting? Did you see my tweet about this over the weekend? That was pretty good. I think Barclay Goodrow would have been a great jouster back in his day. It's great.
Probably.
If Barclay Goodrow, if we could load him into an animus today, would we find out that his great grandfather was a jouster? Maybe. I'm saying there's a chance.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. There is a little bit of we'll have to monitor this, but sources tell Paul Gackle that the Sharks are going to reassign Meyer to the Barracuda tomorrow.
Is he tweeting about this right now?
Right, he tweeted about it 18 minutes ago.
Okay, hold on. Let's get Paul Gackle out here right now.
No, he tweeted it. When did the CUDA play next?
Why don't you look that up while I drag Paul Gackle on Fear the Fin?
Oh, please don't. We don't need to do that.
I'm just gonna tell him to go to bed, Paul.
Because he's breaking news at midnight. Hey, he's grinding. The Barracuda do not play. The Barracuda play Friday. In Stockton. So if he's been on the money with some of these earlier in the year when guys have gotten called up. So if Meyer does get sent down, he probably won't play because because the CUDA have a back-to-back Stockton, Ontario. Are you going to be going to that Ontario game this Saturday?
I will not, because my real job has me occupied.
Oh, okay, right on. Just was curious. So if that holds to fruition, looks like Nikolai Goldobin will make his 2017 debut. You think he slides in right on that third line?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I assume so, because LeBanc has been so good on that top line. I don't see them disrupting that. You know what? Originally, I really thought Goldobin was going to play tonight on that top line, and then it wasn't until after the fact, because I was just busy today, and I kind of missed out on stuff. I saw that quote from the morning skate where Thornton said, basically in no uncertain terms, and this is me paraphrasing now, but he basically said, go fuck yourselves. LeBanc is playing on our line tonight. I was like, oh.
Who had the quote?
I'm actually not sure who had it. I don't know if it was Pashelka or if it was Kurtz, but he basically said, like, oh yeah, he's been great on our line. Why would we change it? He said basically something to that effect, and I was like, oh, okay. If I'd seen that this morning, I would have been like, oh, okay, never mind. Goldobin's sitting in the press box tonight.
Right.
Anywho,
that's got the makings of a good him. That line played together in camp. That was one of the first lines that played together in training camp. When
I just didn't realize that Thornton had gone all Batman and adopted him as LeBanc as his Robin. So
no, it's like Goldobin, Hurdle, and Ward.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, that's fine. I was still going back. I was going to do a Dick Grayson thing. So
yeah.
That's going to be our new Photoshop project.
Oh man, LeBanc playing with Thornton.
So that makes LeBanc. Oh my God, and he's even isn't LeBanc from Brooklyn or something?
Staten Island, yeah.
Yeah. So that makes him Nightwing now from Bloodhaven.
Oh man.
This can only be good. So now it's Dick Grayson. LeBanc, Dick Grayson, whatever. Dick LeBanc. Yeah.
Yeah, Ward, Hurdle, and Goldobin got some time together.
What did you have to look it up? You were there.
No, I'm remembering it now because I'm trying to find the quote Joel Ward gave on the first day of training camp about playing with Tomas Hurdle.
Did they talk about their big asses?
He said Hurdle's got a big ass, and he basically said, he's like, yeah, I'm just trying to keep up with these young guys. So
nice.
He's gonna have another young guy on his wing. If that's the case and Meyer gets sent down and Goldobin gets a shot, it's going to be interesting to see, how long the leash is and, how well he plays and if he can make it a permanent thing. Because I think, Doug Wilson's probably hoping all three of them are up with the big club by the time the playoffs roll around.
I think it's a mistake to send down Meyer because I think Meyer's been really, really, really good, even if the points haven't been there. That being said, I don't mind Goldobin getting a look, so whatever.
Yeah. And, if Meyer plays top line minutes and with the Barracuda for a couple games,
Yeah, I don't really have
the Kevin LeBanc thing and comes back and scores 5 points in 4 games,
The biggest thing to me is that I hate this thing where people are saying that, it's great. He goes back and plays top line with the Barracuda. Better than playing on the fourth line with the Sharks. Right. And it's like, no, it is not, you stupid moron.
There's more minutes, but you'd rather him play against the NHL competition.
The fourth line in the NHL doesn't have to be grind, dump, and chase.
No, exactly.
He's playing with Chris Tierney and Malcolm Carlson, who are good.
Pretty good line. It's a pretty good line.
Did we stop shitting on Chris Tierney? Because 5 minutes ago, you idiots were telling me he was good enough to be a third-line center. Now, he's not good enough. But still, can we be consistent for 5 seconds here? I'm only going to live to be 35, guys, all right? I'd like the next 10 years.
Let's have it be an enjoyable.
I've got 1 decade, okay? I've only got a decade. I'd like it to be a nice decade. That's it.
I think Goldobin on the third line. That'll be interesting.
I'm excited for it. I'm excited.
I liked that line together in camp when they played in the scrimmages. I thought they had some good chemistry.
I've got a question. You saw them all together. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, we'll say Beyonce. Number 1 being Michael Cera, ass size of Nikolai Goldobin.
Oh, I didn't. I just knew the Hurdle one because Hurdle gets the Yager comps. And the great thing tonight was that Yager backed some shark off the puck tonight. And I'm like, there goes Yogs, just
Using
using
that
his
big
big old
ass.
butt to back guys down. Yeah.
All right,
Yager's
that's
great.
disappointing that you don't even have a
Yager's
scouting report on the big ass line, because if we could use like what I'm thinking is that when we do the emoji lineup, that for the third line we could just do
peach.
the three
Yeah,
peach
yeah.
emojis.
Hurdle will
Yeah,
be the
exactly.
peach.
No, all three of them. We could just do the big
Yeah.
ass line. We could just do peach.
No, but
peach,
he was
peach.
only saying that about Hurdle.
Listen, Joe Ward's got a big ass. If you don't know that, you just haven't been paying attention. I'm just kidding. Joe Ward is the party hat emoji. That's been a standby for the entire time he's been with the team.
And Nikolai Goldobin's the Russian flag.
But geez, man, Nikolai Goldobin could be the party hat emoji.
Or he could be a fast car emoji.
That's true. He could also be the.
He was driving a very nice.
He also half the time I see him on Instagram is doing a live video from while driving. So good for you, Nikolai. Thank you.
Hey, that stabilizing veteran influence of Tomas Hurdle.
Oh, hey, Nikolai, I was thinking, now that you're up with the big club, we could all go hang out together, go to one of my favorite clubs. Nikolai, oh, man, that sounds so great. I love clubbing. And then Tomas, I'll drive. Interior, David Bustard.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. Hurdle's just playing the game, trying to win a minion.
Yeah, Nikolai is over there.
And then he sees a picture of he looks longingly at a picture of Matt Nieto. And
he's got a picture. I was gonna say he's got a picture of Matt Nieto or like stuck on the like inside of one of those like race car games while he's driving. I'm gonna get the lap this time.
And then Tommy Wingles is on the other one. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Poor Tomas. She's so lonely.
Yeah.
Aren't we all? We're all just looking for somebody to love. Just like Aaron Dowd.
You got a quick prediction? How many points on this back to back?
Well, they'll get 1 point and lose against the Coyotes, and they'll surprise us and get 2 points against the Bruins. So
I was going to
say 3 points.
I think they get 3 as well. 4 would be great.
They're not getting 4 points, baby. They're getting 3 points. Marcus, got any vacation plans for our bye week?
For the bye week, no. I'm just gonna, just do a little bit of writing, I think.
Are you sucking up? You don't have to.
No, I think I've got some ideas ruminating for pieces. I think.
Okay.
Would be good. What are you going to be doing on the bye week, Jake?
Yeah, probably some writing, and then yeah.
We'll be podding. We'll be doing some podcasts.
We're gonna podcast. Yeah, we're gonna cast some pods. We'll do a pod on Monday, or when do you get back from? You're gonna be on assignment. I know. When do you get back from being?
Yes, I'll be back. I should be free Tuesday.
Yeah, either Tuesday or Wednesday. We've got plenty of time. So one of those days we'll be on the pod. In the crap part of Soho, we'll be on the pod.
No, not on the crap part of Soho.
Okay, in the crap part of
the internet.
Okay. Well, that is assuredly accurate.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Until then, you can follow us on other parts of the internet. Fearthefin.com is our website. Marcus P. White is his Twitter. I'm at Jake Sundstrom. At Fear the Fin. This one went pretty long. We've got 13 viewers. This is more viewers than we have when we normally do this.
We should have. What we should do? Our pod should be next week. All Q&A.
Okay, all Q&A. Yeah, that's good. Then we don't have to come up with any ideas.
Exactly.
Great. Did anybody else say anything? Oh, hey, wait, hold on.
If we have got questions.
Yeah. Hang on. Wait. There's Barry. I'm not reading this out loud.
The name or the question?
Though it wasn't a question, it's just a name. Okay, there were no questions. Guys, if you have any questions, you go ahead and drop them right now. You've got, hang on.
2 minutes.
Oh, hey, guys. This is the official drink of the pod. This is Martin Jones, post-loss cure-all. This is what got me through the podcast tonight. Thanks, Martin. This is what's going to get me through the bye week, too. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to do that. All right, guys.
What are you not going to do?
I'm not giving this guy. I'm not giving a. Okay, we'll give Barry. Barry gets a shout out, and this is Rahu also gets a shout out.
Cool.
Google just lets people put whatever they want on here, man. Okay, guys, people, gender neutrals, however you choose to self-identify.
See you
Have
next
a
week.
great night.